Jim's home,
Yeah, we moved that.
and there's no
Those chairs
road
out.
going to it. I mean, there is a road, but it's not a recognized road,
road, and that's where the fight
And
is.
this just came
Yes.
in,
for sure.
so if they decide to do this,
Okay.
They just signed it.
well, no,
Yeah,
and then you sign again.
it's just an agenda of what's going on.
Thank you, Bill. Oh, that was the only one. This just came in. This just came in. Okay. Yes, yes indeed, Diane.
This was good.
Good.
That's it.
Started getting the news.
Needs to be.
Yeah, I know. I had 2 extra sets of, no, I got 1 extra set of the minutes from
Changes to get.
last meeting. Does anybody want it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Thanks. Brenda,
Yes?
do you have any, oh, they moved that to the end of the thing
I do.
then?
Right here.
You have one?
I will get one.
Okay.
Okay. Let's call the meeting to order. Let's stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thank everybody for coming tonight. It's nice to see a full room. New faces, welcome. Okay. Let's look over the agenda, see if you have any changes you want to make.
I make a motion, we accept the agenda as written.
I have a motion, do we have a second? Let me get them looking at all this stuff.
Motion or second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The sheriff isn't, oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm here. Staying cool.
Come on in. We're ready for you, Josh.
Didn't get the hair on.
You have the sheriff's report.
Good evening. So, May had 36 hours. June 1st up till now, there's a little over 20. We've had 32 calls of service from June 1st to July 1st. And those calls, just a couple of them that I picked out, unless you want to talk about any of the other ones. There's been a couple of thefts. They're actively ongoing investigations. If you guys got any information that would help us, we'd appreciate that. Let us know. Some of that maybe is tied into some suspicious activity. Had a gentleman walking around town here one morning. I don't know. Somebody
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock in the morning. Our guys were here fairly quick and never did locate him.
Took you guys 3 minutes.
What's that?
Took you guys 3 minutes. Took your guys 3 minutes to get it.
Yeah,
That's it.
they were close. One of them went screaming by my house. So you know, and one of the other deals we ran into is somebody had reported somebody being in a house or an outbuilding. We didn't hear about it until the next night. So there were some of the things we run into. We just ask that you call us right away, and you never know. Our guys might be here, or they might come from Red Lodge or Joliet. We just don't know. We just ask that you call us right away. We had a dog incident. That's being followed up on as well. Visiting with the city attorney on that one. Kind of led to some more a neighbor dispute, essentially. And then sometimes we get calls, it seems like here, because people shoot outside of town on private property. If they're shooting in a safe manner, there's not much we can do about that. And I know it echoes into town, and it seems a lot worse or closer than it is, but we have followed up on that, and they've been out of town. So that is legal, just so you guys know. The guys were coming through town about midnight and had some kids up at the school and wrote some MIPs. They were out on the swing set, so they had a couple MIPs, just doing their regular checks through town. And then we had the deal with the city shop. Somebody was in there and came out, and that's being investigated as well. To Shirley, but again, there's no one been charged with those yet, so if you guys have any information, we just ask that you share that with us and just call dispatch and go from there. We continue to hear about the speeding, the traffic's an issue. It's an issue everywhere right now for us. We've sat here, they've made some stops, they've made some fast people going through here. One of them.
What is the speed limit on Main Street?
Is it 25? Is it posted?
Is it right, you're talking right out here?
Yes.
It was 15.
If it's posted, it's either 15 or 25. The streets vary,
Because a lot of people go down that way faster than that.
and they do. I sat here last Thursday over here by the city shop for half an hour, talking to a few people in and out. And the fastest we had was 48 miles an hour in the middle of the day. And I sat there for just over a half hour. And I know it differs. Obviously, they're not going to speed when they see us. That's the challenge we run into. So, I wish we could be here. I wish we could be everywhere. It would save us a lot of work. You guys got any other things that came up that you missed? There's just some of the highlights. There's other stuff. We've had some mental health transports from the area. Some EMS calls. They do the building checks just about every night. They come through. They drive through the school and check town. That's how they caught those kids up there.
Now this is more or less a breath of fresh air, Josh. I've had, my house was broken into twice on there,
Yeah.
and a neighbor disputed and that sort of deal.
Yeah.
Even calling late, we never had to wait more. I think 4 minutes was the longest wait. And you guys can get here quick enough, quicker than we're used to, so it's easier for you guys to apprehend and do your job, and you guys are very professional with what you do.
We've got a good group, so they're here to work for you guys. And we can't fix it all, but we can do what we can do for you, so we're trying. Anything else?
Is it like going to Joliet onto the school, past the school here? I've never seen a sign for a speed limit to resume or speed out that way.
Isn't that 25 till you hit the 45?
Till you hit the gravel. Then
It's when hit drive. There's not a sign up though, is there?
Yeah, I think
Yeah, there is.
There is?
Yeah.
Those do get taken down one reason or another, off and on, but I know coming back in.
Coming in is, but I didn't notice anything going out. I must
There
be-
was one out there when I was out there about 2-3 weeks ago.
Oh, was there?
Yeah.
I might have had too many drinks that day.
You never know.
Slow down here, right?
Yeah, slow down. Just do 25 and you'll be good.
Yeah.
Thanks,
So-
Josh.
Yeah, we appreciate it. I'll stick around for a minute.
Okay. Scott, you're up.
Okay, well, I see you got plenty of things to do tonight, so I'm not gonna take a lot of your time. I'm a candidate for the District 3 County Commissioner seat. And some of the things that I've been talking with the other candidates about, Joanne Blyton had made a comment that it'd be kinda nice if we took our commissioner meeting out of Red Lodge once a month. And so there's depending on who we elect as commissioners, there's a good chance we would actually hold our commissioner meeting right here in Fromberg several times a year. And I think it's a good way to connect with your community and your civic organization here to find out what your infrastructure needs. That's one of the things I'm most concerned about in our county is there's plenty of infrastructure needs, and I don't really believe we're giving it the attention we probably could. And part of the reason that once I started digging into the commissioner's position, I garnered information that shows our commissioners have raised their base pay every year for 16 years. And I found that a little disturbing in that regard because it's over $41,000 in that period of time. But they also have a deal in there called longevity pay. And so I actually sat in on the last hearing in Red Lodge where they passed the new recommendation for the pay that started July 1st of this year. And we had an employee on the books there that got a 9.5% longevity pay bonus. And then on top of that, they raised the base pay by 3.25%. And to me, that's, I don't know how you survive when you continue doing that. Obviously, taxes has to keep going up to be able to afford it. But part of the goal that I had mentioned to a lot of people that I've been talking to is I want to freeze that base for the next 6 years. And if I'm able to do that, we should be able to put between $100,000 to $200,000 back into the general fund budget, which is no small feat. But I'm getting the feeling that if I sat and worked over the budget really, really hard, I think I'd find more money there that we could actually use. And when we open up our commission to our communities and figure out where we can work together on some of this stuff, I think it helps everybody and that pays the taxes in our communities. So that's part of the goal that I've got here. And I got to thank most of the people here in Fromberg because I did take the Fromberg voting district in the primary, and I think when more people know what's been going on in our commission race, I can tell you, I talked to a gentleman just today that said, you know, those guys aren't in their offices near enough. And I'm pretty committed to being in the county commissioner's office probably 4 days a week and working on issues that are issues around our county. So I hope you would consider me as your candidate and as we go forward in November. And if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to give me a call.
Sounds to me like you ought to run for Congress instead.
Well, I got limits. I really do. But I was born and raised in Carbon County, and my heart's here. And my family's been in Carbon County for well over 100 years on both my mom and dad's side. And it's probably the last public service job I would take, but I would be interested in doing that. So I'll leave you at that so that you can carry on with your meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Yeah.
Brent Moore from CPA talking about zoning map and city growth plan.
Yep, and I'm actually work for Interstate Engineering is the company I work for.
Okay.
I'll give out some cards, but my understanding is there's a board in town, maybe your planning board or HOPE has recommended you update your zoning ordinance, or your zoning map, excuse me, as well as your potentially looking at a growth policy. So your zoning map obviously is up there on the wall, and it's a hand-drawn map. And so if we were to update that, we basically digitize that and put it into a digital format that you have then as a PDF document. You can also change it over time. And so that's that element. I don't know, that's pretty straightforward. It's just taking that old color drawn map and making a digital. We could do it in either CAD, which is a program that we use as engineers, or we could do it in GIS, which is another program we use, or we could do it both, depending on what you wanted. But if you just wanted just a paper version, a PDF version, you could do that. Any questions about that?
I think they were concerned with cost.
Okay. Yeah, so that cost for updating the map is around $2,500 for just updating the map. So we basically have to digitize that and confirm all of the properties. We don't survey the town. It's not what we do. It doesn't get to a survey level detail, but we take the level of detail that you have in that map and we compare it to other data sources that we use to verify in general what your zoning districts are. And then we provide you a copy of the draft copy of that, so that you have an opportunity to review it, provide comments, and make sure that you think it reflects what's up on that map, because some areas may be a little bit not as clear to us as they are to you, and then we make those revisions and have that map back to you. So as part of that, what I understand is not changing any of your zoning districts. It's basically just updating that
Updating.
map to look like it's a map from 2018 versus.
Kind of professional and.
Yes, a little bit more professional, yep. And then in terms of growth policies, Montana law requires all jurisdictions within Montana have what are called growth policies. And I updated Carbon County's growth policy, I think 2015, 2016-ish. During those meetings, we did have several meetings here in Fromberg as well. And so Carbon County's growth policy talked generally about growth within the valley, but not specifically about growth within your community, because we're sort of county and not using the city. And so what a growth policy does basically is just identify what are some of the issues in your community that you are dealing with as a city council and as community members, but then it also looks at are there any areas where you might grow in the future, either within your existing town or on the edge of your town, and what are some of the opportunities or challenges to that growth in terms of infrastructure, generally speaking. And so that's what a growth policy is. Certainly I advocate towns to adopt growth policies for a couple reasons. One, it's just a good framework or guide for you to grow. But also if things change in the future, none of us can really predict the future. You're a little bit more ready for the future if you have a plan in place to accommodate additional growth if additional growth occurs within Fromberg. So I've done around a dozen growth policies in Montana in the past 12 years for communities like George and Floyd, Montana, a lot of small towns like Fromberg, and of course, like I mentioned, I updated the county's growth policy too. I live in Red Lodge, that's where my office is. The firm I work for also has an office in Billings, so that's where I was today. So we have engineering staff in our Billings office that would help with that. The budget for a plan like that, or for a community around your size, would be around $30,000. The best thing for you to do if you're going to think about a growth policy would be to apply to a CDBG grant. The CDBG grant has a matching program of 3 to 1, which is a really good matching program. So, you'd actually be looking at closer to $6,000-ish or so in a match for that if you were able to get the grant. You could apply for the grant on your own, and I could certainly provide the clerk with information on how you could do that. Typically, when we apply for CDBG grants for communities like that, it's $1,000 to apply for the grant. That doesn't guarantee you get the grant, but if you get the grant, there's a substantial, obviously, amount that the state provides. And then we help with the administration of that grant as well through the process of updating their growth policy.
Yes, and the Leagues and Cities, Montana Leagues and Cities has also grant money available for growth policy.
Okay.
So,
And you can combine your grant and do like the growth policy and the zoning map. You might do it as one grant application, and that is another option. Because the maximum grant you can get through the CDBG program is $50,000, and so you would be under that maximum of both the zoning map and the growth policy if you chose to do that.
I got a question. How long does it take to go through the CBGG process?
Yeah, so the CDBG process right now, the grants, they're evaluating the current grant cycles going on right now, and so the next grant cycle is in October that you'd be eligible for. And CDBG program anticipates having funding in that grant cycle, but we don't know that they will really until October when they release that program funds. So right now they have more applications in the current cycle than they have funding for. And so you'd be eligible in the October funding cycle.
and so we're looking at, if we did apply for a grant, we're looking at maybe a year out.
Well, October, then you have a grant. You have a grant award pretty quickly, actually. They usually get them back within a month of when you submit. And so you could have a grant actually in November, and then you're required, because it's federal funding, to go through a selection process to hire a consultant like myself or someone else. You have to make it a competitive process.
Right.
And so once you get those funds, then it's typically a 1 to 2 month process to hire a consultant and get a contract. And so you're looking at the beginning of the next year for when you would be doing a growth policy. The zoning map, if you wanted to allocate lesser money, that can happen within a month. But the growth policy, then a growth policy takes usually about 6 months to a year to complete for a town of your size. You probably could do it pretty reasonably within an 8-month period. So it does take some time to put together a plan because basically you want to engage the public and have a conversation about what they want in addition to what you as their representatives also see as needs for the community. And so there's a process that we go through anytime we have a growth policy.
And how much out-of-pocket expenses are occurring doing the policy?
Yeah, again,
Just
it's
Depends on what we can get for grants.
yeah, it depends on what you want to ask for in terms of the grant, and then again, it's 3 to 1, and so I'm not always the best with math. But again, if you did $30,000, you divide that by, take 32,000, you divide it by 4, you get 8,000 each. So you put in 8,000, the state will put in 24,000, and then that's how that program works. It's a really good program. I mean, you may not have $8,000 in your budget, but you know, there's no other grant program other than, frankly, the FAA, which is also a really good grant program if you have an airport and do something with federal funds. CDBG is the best grant there is out there for pretty much anything in terms of planning. But like I said, that's separate from the zoning. There are 2 separate tasks that I'm here to talk about. The zoning map is a standalone task, and we could update that for $2,500. You wouldn't have to go through competitive, you can just move forward with that. But the growth policy is a longer term kind of deal. So I'm happy to, I left you my cards. If you have any other questions, you can call me, but if you want us to put together a proposal for the zoning map, we certainly can. We could also do a proposal for applying for the grant. Like I mentioned, that's $1,000. But we can't do a proposal for the growth policy unless you just wanted to go ahead and not apply for the grant. Then we could do it. But my guess is you probably would want to apply for the grant and decide if you wanted to do it. So, any other questions?
I have kind of a strange question, and I guess I'm familiar with some of the areas you're talking about, Jordan, Montana, and stuff like that. So when they do this growth policy, have you heard back that this has really saved them in the long run, or they've really made they've come out of something very positive on this deal? I guess I'm kind of having a hard time. I would prefer some hardcore deals of, this really worked fantastic for this person because of this.
Yeah, I think there are a couple of things. I mean, the reasons why communities do growth policies, there are 2 really. One is to have a plan, and you either think a plan is good or you think a plan's not good for your future, and talk to the public about what that plan is and what that vision is good or not good. It might be not worth the piece of paper it's written on. But that's one thing, is you value the process of engaging your community about thinking about your future. The other thing is grant funds. So if you have a growth policy, you apply for grants for infrastructure projects, whether they be water or sewer predominantly in the future, you have a stronger chance through the grant programs, particularly the TSET program, to be competitive against your peer communities in Montana to receive those grant funds. So those are the 2 reasons. In terms of a town like Jordan, I think it helps them with grants. But Jordan is relatively stagnant in terms of growth, so there's not a lot of things happening. I'm actually really proud of the Jordan plan that we did, and I do think that they think it helps them to steer people towards existing lots within the community that can be developed as opposed to on the edge of the town. That there are places within Jordan that can be developed when people live there, and they still talk about it for that purpose. But I think there are also places like Ray, North Dakota. Ray was a town about the size of, say, Bridger, around 650 or so before the Bakken hit that area, and then it boomed to about 1,200. And so the plan helped them to expand, basically double.
Okay.
And so, again, I'm not suggesting, obviously, that Fromberg's going to experience the Bakken anytime soon.
No, but it gives
it gives you a framework or a tool to talk to developers about where you want that growth to occur if you happen to encounter changes in the environment that you are in the community. And when we went through the growth policy in Carbon County at the time, there was a lot of discussion about the development that was going on in this area in general. And, that was an issue of concern that that hasn't necessarily moved forward or had real impacts yet.
No, like I
And
said,
yeah, so it kind of just depends on what's happening in your community.
okay, no, that answers that question, thank you.
Well, I guess just for myself, just so I make sure I'm on the right page, this would be a separate growth policy versus what we're looking at here with Carbon County one? Or is this?
Yes.
Okay. It would be just our own.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would just write growth policy simply for a founder,
Mhm.
but we can look at the Carbon County growth policy about that, so.
Yeah, I would say,
Example,
and if you
yeah.
haven't adopted by a resolution Carbon County's growth policy, I'd certainly suggest you do that, because again, if you apply for grants, as long as you've adopted that by resolution, it helps. I think the funding agencies will prefer to see an actual one for years, but again, they evaluate a variety of things when they're looking at funding applications, but I agree with that advice to move forward with that county.
And then we can look on down the road
Yeah,
for
down the road, if you're
our
ready.
own policy,
Yeah.
which, yeah. Any other questions? Well, thank you, Brent, for coming and talking to us about that.
Thanks, Brian.
Appreciate it.
Has everybody looked over the minutes?
I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes for, as they're written.
Have a motion to accept the minutes as written. Do I have a second?
One second.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, Ernest King zoning. Have we? Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I have dyslexia here tonight. Have you guys looked over the minutes, we're going all over the bills? Look at those. Any questions on the bills? Do I have a motion to accept the bills?
Yeah, I'm motion to accept this.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? A motion and a second, all approved, or all in favor? Thank you. Okay, moving on to zoning. Ernest and Amanda King at 112 School Street are looking to put a fence around their property, and they decided not to add that, a little bit of addition, that 2-foot addition on that shed up, or,
It's right there.
oh, I'm sorry. This-
So the fence is on the back part of the property,
Right,
and then the shed would be basically a second story on top of that existing shed that was there.
okay. That's what I thought, but I didn't see it written on the front, so I was gonna ask you about that.
He's got two different
Oh,
applications.
different.
One for the fence and then one
Oh,
for
he
the
does,
building.
does he? Thank you, Tammy.
And he does fall under commercial, So everything's within the guidelines.
Okay.
And he has been courteous enough on his fencing in the back. If you notice his diagram there,
Mm-hmm.
that he cut off that corner there because you have an alley that goes through there and it's really hard to make a turn in there if everybody's stuff isn't sitting exactly on their property.
Right.
So he has been kind enough to cut that corner. And it looks good to me. Have to ask
Trying to
Al.
leave that corner available for fire,
Right.
anybody
Yeah.
emergencies,
And it's
utilities.
that's a real narrow alley
Yeah.
anyway,
Cause
so.
I got an easement on my west side and then the alley in the back on the
Okay.
south part there.
Okay.
And so just, I can see where people have cut the corner, so therefore just allowing proper access for myself, let alone anyone else that's traveling up and down that area, if that needs to be.
And so the zoning committee's recommendation?
Mine
To
is
approve it?
good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, zoning committee has recommended approval of the zoning applications for Ernest and Amanda King. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the fence. We'll have to have two of them, right? Two applications.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, you are correct.
And I'll second the fence motion.
A motion to approve and a second to accept the application for fencing. All in favor?
Aye. I also make a motion to accept the second one for the shed.
Did you, on that, it's pretty much when you stack them up, it's good to go, right?
Yeah, and he's commercial, so he falls under different guidelines than what residential does. So he's
So you're
totally,
allowed to, you can go up as high as you want, basically.
Well,
on that to an
I think
extent. But-
70 feet, I don't
Wait,
expect him to be
written in
going
our-
70 feet.
I was gonna say, wait, written in, so.
If you are, I want spyglasses.
So we have a motion to approve the shed addition, and did you second that? Not yet?
I'll second it.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second to approve the addition to the shed, all in favor?
Aye.
Excuse me, sorry. Yes.
Thank you.
Correspondence.
You want me to explain this correspondence on draw 15?
Well, do we want it, it's already on the agenda, oh, on
No,
15,
this is
okay,
draft
yeah.